Jayhawk baseball takes the weekend from nationally ranked Oklahoma State. What to watch for in the Kansas relays this week, and a masterful performance from one of the game's rising stars. It's Good Morning KU coming up next. Welcome into Good Morning KU, a fine Monday morning. It's good to be back. A little bit of a break for myself, but I know I have a great team taking over, so I guess I probably wasn't even missed. But we'll jump right into the sports here. Kansas baseball with a hot weekend. They welcomed in 14th ranked and Big 12 leader Oklahoma State over the weekend. Not exactly the greeting the Cowboys expected in Lawrence. The Jayhawks take games 2 and 3 to win the series on the weekend. 4-2 was the score on Sunday. Blair Beck knocked in 2 runs on a double, and Dakota Smith rigged a solo shot to provide the offense needed for the Jayhawks. Blake Wyman earned his first career victory, snapping Oklahoma State's streak of 10 consecutive Big 12 series wins. Jayhawks have Missouri State at home on Wednesday. Softball also in action on Sunday, following 5-4 at Texas Tech on the road. Shaylee Brickley continues to have a hot bat for the Jayhawks. They fall to 4-5 in Big 12 play after their extremely hot start. 33-7 is the team's record. The team travels to Tulsa on Saturday for a 2-game set, wrapping up an 8-game road stretch. On to the tennis courts. The Jayhawks rallied to beat the Oklahoma Sooners 4-3 on Sunday afternoon. Summer Collins won the pivotal singles match, the final match of the day, to push Kansas to victory. Just 2 more matches during the conference season, both on the road against Baylor and Texas. The Kansas relays are upon us now, and it will be one of the biggest events of the spring. The relays run Wednesday through Sunday. In addition to the competition at Rock Chalk Park in Northwest Lawrence, there will be a downtown shot put contest featuring 5 of the world's top 10 shot putters. The athlete to watch, of course, for Kansas is Michael Stigler, who set a school record in the 400-meter hurdles on March 27th in Texas. He currently holds the world lead in that event. There is another young face dominating the PGA Tour. It's Jordan Spieth, the youngest to win the Masters since Tiger Woods in 1997. He did so in convincing fashion. A wire-to-wire leader at Augusta, a 21-year-old, tied the tournament record shooting a ridiculous 18 under par. How's that feeling, young fella?
It's incredible. It's one of the best feelings I've ever felt. This was arguably the greatest day of my life.
And it's good to be back with our all-sport, all-access man, Griffin Hughes. It's been a while since we've tag-teamed on stage again. An incredible run for Jordan Spieth at just the age of 21.
Yeah, absolutely. It's nice to see, as golf fans, there were a couple years there where we weren't quite sure what was going to happen with Tiger, all the struggles he had, and sometimes Rory saw, what we saw from Rory was that he could be one of the best ever, but he hasn't been able to do that consistently. But now, there's hope again, I guess, for golf fans. When you have a 21-year-old shooting this well, you never know what's going to happen.
Phil Mickelson and Justin Rose each finished 4 shots back. Rory McIlroy, who you mentioned, goes 6 under on the final day to sit alone at 4th place. Tiger tracking now. Woods shoots a 1 over par on Sunday, but does all in all finish with a pretty good tournament at 5 under. So what were your thoughts on Woods maybe in his first tournament back after a little bit of a break for health?
Well, it was a little bit better than I figured he would do, to be honest with you. I mean, we've seen that in these tournaments when he comes back after a hiatus of whatever kind that he's taken, he usually struggles a little bit. But Augusta's a tough course, and he managed to shoot 5 under on that. I think it's promising for him, but obviously, and he'll be the first to tell you this, there's a lot of work that still needs to be done. And
the aging body's starting to grow concerns, as it seems like every week there's an injury concern with Tiger. But the story really is the young golfers, and Jordan Spieth certainly representing that in this week's tournament.
Absolutely.
So speaking of young and on fire right now, we'll segue right into the Kansas City Royals, who continue to tear through their opening part of their schedule. Let's take a look at some of the highlights from the game against the Angels this weekend. There's Mike Moustakas, who says, Angels, you have a 1-run lead. Not anymore. A home run to right center field. He continues to swing a hot bat early on this season. Now 2 on, 2 out for Alex Rios, one of the additions from the offseason for the Royals. He drives in 2 runs, and the Royals take a 3-1 lead in the top of the 4th. And still in the top of the 4th, Salvador Perez adds 2 more, a home run to left field. He leads the team with 3 home runs so far this season. The Royals and the Tigers are the only teams without losses in the majors, and ironically in the same divisions and rivalries. So Kansas City looks for a 7-0 start today at 3:10 up in Minnesota. But real quick, before we jump to the NBA, what are some of your impressions from the opening week of the MLB season?
Well, I think for the Royals specifically, since that's what we were just going on, they definitely show that they have a very good and competent pitching staff. Edison Volquez, he's almost returned to where he was back when he was with the Reds, and he was an opening day starter, an ace in the 1-hole for them. So I like where the Royals are coming from. Offense is always going to be an issue, and it still continues to be an issue. And I think the most telling part of their series against the Angels was Mike Trout was still Mike Trout against them. So they haven't yet been able to shut down another team's best player, because let's face it, the White Sox, besides Jose Abreu, don't really have much there.
It's tough to shut down a guy like Mike Trout.
I'm not saying that they should, be holding him to one hit or anything like that, but I think if you get to a World Series situation, you got to be doing a great job against the other team's 4-hole or 3-hole hitter. So we'll see. I mean, there's a lot of games left, and that's the number one impression I get. There's teams that, there are a lot of games left to be played. That's what we got to understand.
Yeah, it's early in the baseball season. What about 155 games left for the Royals? So pretty easy to do that, to jump to too many conclusions so far. All right, we will switch to the hardwood now. It's the last week of NBA play, which is one of the most intriguing parts of the basketball season. And one of those intriguing parts is Russell Westbrook, who's leading the Thunder right now without Kevin Durant, and they're just a few games outside of this playoff spot.
And what Russell Westbrook has been able to do is it's unbelievable. I mean, he's a freak of an athlete, and what's so amazing about him is that he runs the game, and he'll go out and he'll run an offense well, and he'll also be able to get a lot for himself. That's why we've seen him have 11 triple-doubles this year, 9 of them coming after the All-Star break. And
he dropped 54 points last night, but the Thunder couldn't get the win. Now they're in this battle with the Pelicans. Do you think they will be able to sneak into that final playoff spot?
It's tough to say, and Russell Westbrook, he picked up his 16th technical last night, so that would be a suspension for him if it doesn't get overturned, and that one game might be enough to cost the Thunder their season. We'll see how they respond. I'm not totally trusting the Pelicans. The Thunder, I would think, are a safer pick. They have a very good team, and even without Westbrook, they still are able to put together a team that I think is worthy of an 8 seed. But we'll just see. I mean, I think at this point it's going to be on coaching.
Yes.
And this is going to be it's going to be Scott Brooks, and I think it's going to decide whether or not he stays in Oklahoma City.
Yeah, the Pelicans definitely they have the inside track because they have the head-to-head tiebreaker against Oklahoma State. So lots of personality there in Oklahoma City. It's Kevin Durant, and it's also Russell Westbrook. Mm-hmm. Do you think there are too many sheriffs in town there in Oklahoma City?
I don't think so, because I do think that they complement each other well. It's not a 1 and 2 guard situation. Westbrook's a point guard. He thrives on having another shooter there, another offensive threat, and that's what Kevin Durant is. And Kevin Durant's a 3-4. They work really well together. They work better than, say, if it was LeBron James and Kevin Durant on the same team. That wouldn't work as well. But
position conflict between the two.
Exactly. It's a conflict, and it's a conflict of the way they play. And Westbrook and Durant, they play differently. They go out and they have different focuses on the game. I think this is a matchup that can continue to work for the Thunder, I think, for a long time if they both want to stay there.
It'll be interesting to see Kevin Durant's contract obviously coming up in the next year or so as well. And finally, the Spurs, they're on an incredible run, climbing all the way to the 2 spot in the West. They always seem to get into playoff form late in the season. Coach Popovich obviously doing great things. What are your thoughts on them, their run to the top spot and also in the playoffs?
Well, you said it right there. They always seem to be in their best form coming into the playoffs. And I think for Coach Popovich, I mean, first of all, that's just a testament to what kind of a coach he is, and making sure that he always has his team in playing their best basketball in May and June. And I think that says a lot about him and what he's been able to do. I don't think there's any limit for how far the Spurs can go, because they have great coaching. They've got guys who've been there, done that, time and time again with their veterans. That being said, they're going to have to run into the Warriors. The Warriors are younger, they're faster, they're better shooters, they play better defense. I mean, any team who wants to get to the finals from the Western Conference, they're going to have to go through the Warriors, and the Warriors are going to be the Warriors are going to be one of the toughest outs in the NBA since probably the Spurs in the 2005. You know, in that time, in that 10 years, there hasn't been a tougher out than the Warriors.
But the Spurs did their diligence to get up to the 2 spot. Will avoid the Golden State until the semifinals of the NBA, the conference finals in the West. The West is so good. So now one of our favorite parts of the show, a little FaceTime for Griffin. So what's on the mind, the crazy sports mind of Griffin Hughes?
Well, we happened to have a lot of it while you were gone in Europe. So I was reading off a teleprompter, but fair enough. I always like to talk about soccer during FaceTime because that's something that I like, but Man City, they lost to Man U, so I'm going to go ahead and try to avoid that subject so that I don't cry again. I just want to take this time to warn all of the Royals fans who watch the show.
Shots fired.
Because, I say this from experience because I'm a Rockies guy, and back in October 2007, the Rockies made the World Series, and they looked like into the next year to be one of the best teams in the majors that were going to get there again. And as Rockies fans, we were very cautious, very optimistic, and I mean cautiously optimistic, but still, you know, a little bit pessimistic at the same time, if that makes sense. And at the end of the day, the Rockies finished under 500. So, you know, we didn't get our hearts broken too much by that. And what I am afraid of is
Seems like the track maybe that the Royals are on right now.
I mean, it's very early in the season. They could end up getting to the World Series again, or they might end up finishing under 500. I mean, it really depends on how well the offense does. But what I see from Royals fans is, you know, 6-0, they're already starting to say World Series again, and that's a very dangerous path to walk down because this is one of the tougher divisions in baseball. The White Sox, Sale's now back, Samardzich's going to find it again. You know, he's rusty, but he is one of the best pitchers.
Yeah, many had the Royals finishing 4th in the AL Central, and obviously the Tigers are tied with the Royals at the top at 6-0.
There is a reason for that. You know, this division is very good, and if the Royals, I mean, they got to finish top 2 in the division to even have a shot at the playoffs. But you know, it's very early in the season. One injury, and it might be over. You know, I mean, you figure Moustakas is hitting great. If he gets injured, that might be the end of the offense for the Royals, and it doesn't matter if you hold a team to 1 run every game. If you don't score any, you're still losing 1-0 every game. So I just want to tell every Royals fan in the audience to be very cautious. This is a very long season. You know, it's the longest season of any American professional sport. It's very long, so be cautious. Be happy when the Royals win. But, you know, understand, this is one of the toughest divisions in baseball. So
a little dash of realism here from Griffin Hughes. We'll be back right after the break. We're going to take a quick one. You'll have news on the flip side.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Romy, and this is your Monday Good Morning KU News Update. It's official, Hillary Clinton has announced her intentions to run for president in 2016. Clinton released a 2-minute video in which she said that everyday Americans need a champion. Clinton is expected to meet with voters in Iowa next month for a formal kickoff for her campaign. The 2 other possible candidates for the Democratic nominations are Martin O'Malley and Jim Webb. And in breaking news, Marco Rubio from Florida has joined the field for the Republican nomination. According to the Associated Press, Rubio told donors this morning in a conference call that he was joining the race. Jodi Arias is to be sentenced today for the 2008 murder of her lover, Travis Alexander. An Arizona judge will decide whether Arias goes to prison for the rest of her life or gets the possibility of parole after 25 years. Arias was convicted in 2013 of shooting and then stabbing Alexander nearly 30 times. The female college basketball player from Mount St. Joseph, who inspired millions with her desire to play while fighting brain cancer, died on Friday. Lauren Hill passed away at the age of 19. Student Senate elections will be held this week. Advance KU and Imagine KU answered questions in a debate from students through Twitter. Students can vote Wednesday and Thursday online at Rock Chalk Central. That wraps it up for the news. We'll be back after the break.
Being a Jayhawk is more than just being a sports fan. It's about being part of a community. And today, we celebrate that. We celebrate the University of Kansas, we celebrate Lawrence, Kansas, and we say thank you to the community. So Rock Chalk. Jayhawk!
Today, each of you is the living brand of KU. So when you're out there in the community, when you're kind, when you're helpful, people will say those folks at KU are incredible.
Hi, welcome back. I'm Bentley Leonard, and Griffin is outside of the Union right now to tell us a little bit about the weather. In a
Yes,
little bit, not right now.
he is, and he can travel pretty far. Today, as far as the weather goes, it's going to be nice. I mean, as you can see, it's a little bit cloudy outside, but it'll be about 70 at the high, so expect it to be about 65 in that area, and that's pretty much where it's going to stay all week. And then I think weekly, the only thing that's worth noting is there's just expected to be rain on Wednesday and Thursday, a little bit, over 50% chance of precipitation in those 2 days. So definitely keep an eye out for that. But as you can see, it's not very sunny, a little bit cloudy, and in the 65-degree range in terms of temperature. So expect that pretty much all week.
All right, so we got April showers, hopefully some May flowers coming in the next month or so.
Yeah, as you can see on these trees behind me, there's not too many May flowers. So maybe we'll see a little bit more of those as the rain starts to pick up.
Yeah, well, at least it's not snowing, you know. Sometimes I feel like in Kansas there's snow in these weird months of spring.
Yeah, you know, being a Colorado guy, we get that a lot. You know, we've had Mays where it snows. So I will say that if it's not snowing, it's fine with me. At least it's warm and it's a little bit breezy outside. It's nice being out here.
I agree.
You know, being inside all day and doing everything with Jackson. I like being out here.
It's pretty nice. Nice walk to class, especially when I'm late and I have to run. You know, feels a little good, the wind blowing on my face.
It feels like you're going faster when you're running with the wind like that. You know, you just feel like traveling a little bit faster.
Yeah, like my name is like Flash, you know, like the superpower when I'm running. All right, well, thank you, Griffin, for updating us on the weather, and stay tuned to hear about Jackson's trip to Europe after the break.
Studious, courteous, community service oriented. These are just a few ways to describe Sigma Pi fraternity. But don't take my word for it. Let's ask the president himself. Oh, excuse me. I didn't hear you come in. I'm Ryan Brinker, founding father and president of Beta Delta chapter of Sigma Pi here at the University of Kansas. We're one of the fastest growing Greek communities here on campus, and now we want you to be a part of us too. For more information, go to kusigmapi.com.
Welcome back. We're here with Jackson Long, who's going to tell us about his trip to Europe, which is about 3 weeks, right?
Yeah, about 23 days total.
23 days total, dang. So on that span of 23 days, what countries did you hit?
Well, I flew into London, spent 24 hours in London, which means a lot of stuff in one day.
Yeah.
Then went to Barcelona for 4 days down in Spain, and then to Dublin for 3, Rome for like 6, and then Venice, Florence, back to Rome, and then I spent 3 days in Frankfurt, Germany for the last part.
Oh, so you didn't hit that many spots?
No, just a couple places
around
around Europe. It wasn't too much.
Cool. So we got some pictures here. You look very artistic in these pictures.
Yeah, well, part of the fun is definitely capturing the memories. I'm putting a video together of all my trips. It's actually over 20 minutes now. These are pictures from London here. That's on top of the London Eye, the big, I guess, Ferris wheel looking thing, and I timed it really nice with the sunset. But it's fun to capture some of the beauty and be able to send it home to relatives and friends and stuff.
For sure. So what was your favorite place to be out of all the places you were?
Barcelona, which is this picture right here. This is a FC Barcelona soccer match against Manchester City, but the city itself, so clean, it's very well organized, the metro system is fantastic, so I could bus around the city very quickly and very cheap, so it was just a very nice place. It seemed like a place I could definitely go live for a year, not just visit like a tourist.
So favorite place was Barcelona. Favorite event, like favorite thing you did?
This might have been it here, the Cliffs of Moher in the west coast of Ireland. You can literally walk up to the edge, dangle your feet over. There's no like wall or like a fence keeping you away from it. It's I mean, you could be 3 seconds from falling. If someone ran into you, it's just like that. So you're always on edge there, which made it really fun. But it was just so beautiful. The sun was out. It's a 700-foot fall, but it's a mile of just beautiful cliffs. Our tour guide actually said it was the best day to view the cliffs in about 6 months.
Oh, awesome.
So we got really lucky in that sense as well.
Cool. So didn't know any of the language. Was the language barrier a pretty big struggle for this trip? Or?
So the first stop was London. Obviously, they speak English, which was nice because I could kind of get my international wits about me.
Yeah.
And then went to Spain, and I knew enough Spanish. Actually, in Barcelona, they speak Catalan, which is a very localized language, much different from Spanish. So I didn't know that, but they're okay if you speak Spanish to them. So I was okay in Spain. But when I got to Italy, it was definitely the first language shock. And then actually in Germany, I knew nothing. And I didn't know any verbs or anything because Italy and Spanish are a little bit similar. German's way different. And so I fortunately had a friend in Germany that figured out everything for me and told me all the, he actually ordered food for me because I couldn't even do anything.
Yeah. Well, I don't know any of the languages, so I'll be absolutely lost. But I heard you on the way back had a little bit of a scare at the airport. Yeah,
so we're at actually this picture real quick, that's Luca, who's a restaurant owner in Italy, and we went to his restaurant 3 times in 9 days. And for €20, he just fed us all the wine and food that we could possibly take.
Awesome.
So that was good. But yeah, a little scare coming back. We get on the plane from Frankfurt to Washington, D.C. is my connecting flight. And someone, like 5 minutes before takeoff, someone throws up behind me, 2 rows behind me. And they had been traveling in West Africa, so naturally there's a little bit of an Ebola scare. So we spend...
I'm going to get a little back away a little bit from you.
We spend 3 hours trapped on the plane before they figure that out. It was an interesting little...
So I'm guessing the highlight of the trip was probably the plane ride, just staying there for 3 hours with the Ebola scare.
Well, it was actually when they said, no, he's fine, you guys can leave now. That was one of the highlights of the trip as well.
Perfect. Here's the last picture. This is my favorite picture. Just tell me about this picture. What's this picture?
This is on top of the Main Tower in Frankfurt, and it was the last really good picture of the trip. And another beautiful day to overlook the city. And I always try to go to the highest place in every city so I could get some perspective and see everything. And this was a really good one in Frankfurt, Germany.
You got some scruff there too.
Yeah, well,
I'm liking that look. Why didn't you keep that?
Because it actually started. Everyone in my family said, "Oh, you're eating too much food over there in Europe. Your face is starting to look fat." And I kept telling them it was just the beard.
Yeah, it's the beard.
So I guess maybe you could judge for yourself. But
yeah.
So I had to get rid of it, and first day back on TV, so I figured I should clean up a little bit. I mean, it wasn't I mean, you have nice facial hair where it's all well rounded.
Thank you.
Mine was just very patchy along from 30 days of letting it grow.
It gets patchy too. I get some really thick right here, but it gets patchy in this side. So don't let it fool you.
I was happy to shave it last night. Let's just say that.
Okay. Well, it's glad to have you. We're very glad to have you back.
It's good to be back.
Looks like it was a great trip. So that's going to wrap up for today's show. So we'll close it out by saying how the Europeans say goodbye. Adios, Miss Governor.
Ciao.